Morning, everyone. Happy Saturday morning. I hope you are all well wherever you are, and if it's not morning wherever you are, happy afternoon, happy evening. As you come in, please let me know if you can hear me okay. There's some lawn mowing or something happening across the road and it's quite loud, so please let me know if you can hear me okay. Hi Marianne, hi Sue. Hi, Dana. I don't know your names. Hair and Toadstool. Haruka, hello. Castle Moat, remind me of your name. I think you've told me once before and I can't remember. I'm glad you can all hear me. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you are new here or you're watching the replay, my name is Sabina. I'm a kinesiologist, spiritual mentor. And this live will be, as all of my work is, focused on helping you find your power in any circumstance and also helping you to choose love over fear. Hi Haruka, hi Sue, good, great. Welcome everybody. So I've had two questions today that I am definitely covering, but if you have a question, as always, put it in any time and I'm going to head straight into it now, but then I will look back over the comments. And also, obviously, if you have any questions about anything that I am talking about. Okay, so the two questions that came through today, were about anxiety and about self-love, self-care boundaries. Okay, I'm good, thank you, Haruka. So I'm going to start off with the anxiety question. Okay, and both of the questions today really are on very similar veins, and it goes to show us that a spiritual foundation, spiritual tools can always be used across the board, and we don't have to learn different ones for different things. Okay, I'm going to apply them specifically to the two questions, but what I'd love you to take away from today is, like, once you kind of find your rhythm with your mind and with the sort of things that I teach, you're going to be able to apply it across the board. Okay, so the question about anxiety was, how do you overcome anxiety? I've had it my whole life. I have gotten better with it, but I sometimes let fear take over. How do you control those thoughts? Brilliant question. Will apply to everybody on the planet at some point in time. Some people's minds are going to be more skewed to anxiety than others, but we can all relate to anxiety, and especially in the last 2 years, everybody is going to be able to relate to this question. So great question. So what I want to start off with firstly is to, if you are not familiar with everything that I teach about the ego and right mind, I'm going to do a little crash course, because I want you to know that it's not actually you experiencing the anxiety. You are at the receiving end of the anxiety, but you are not where the anxiety is originating from. You are kind of the recipient, okay? And where you start off, and obviously my book set the tone. Nothing can change until you do. This live is not a plug for the book, but the book really takes you through the steps of separating yourself out from ego and changing the programming. So what is ego? It's the part of our mind that is the least evolved. We all have one. We haven't really been taught about it very well in mainstream. It's more used as an insult. It's more used as, someone's got an inflated ego when they think really highly of themselves. Yeah, sometimes, but most of the time, actually, our ego is the thing that feels the lowest about ourselves. So, important to understand. There is an aspect of our mind. It is the least evolved part of us. It comes with this human experience. It is the thing that is very often frightened. It is the thing that has been given the job of keeping us safe and of helping us. So keeping us safe by helping us always know what something means. So as we go through our life, ego goes, oh shit, I need to tell her what this means. I need to tell him what this means. Otherwise, he could be hurt. She could be emotionally distressed. She could be ridiculed. He could be rejected. And those things are the things that ego fears most. Ridicule, rejection, pain. And it will do everything it can to make sure that that doesn't happen. However, it has the problem-solving skills of a very unevolved being. And so it most often chooses control, fear, conflict. That's the realm of ego. Whenever you feel, any of us are feeling anxious, I want you to start recognizing that you have forgotten yourself. Come back from honor the feeling. Always honor the feeling. Don't ever push it away. Don't ever think that it's silly or anything like that. It's not a weakness. But you are not the thing that has started that off. You are just now the recipient of it. And if you can become conscious in it, that's where your power lies. So if you feel anxiety, if it's in your body, if anxious thoughts start coming, and you say to yourself, okay, where have I forgotten myself? Where have I forgotten my power? Because ego does not have access to your power, but you do. So on the one hand, we have ego. On the other hand, we have right mind. Now, I have lent that term from A Course in Miracles. It refers to our wiser self, our connected self, our higher self. I just love the term right mind because when I use it, it's really powerful to remind me that when I'm in ego, I'm literally not in my right mind. When I'm going through my day and I'm encountering other people that are in ego, they are not in their right mind. It helps me to be more compassionate with my fear. So, how could we be in ego or in right mind if there is not an individuated us, me, if there is not a me, if there is not a you, that is neither one of those things but gets to choose between them. So, when it comes to anxiety, start to recognize that, okay, what is my ego freaking out about? Where is it worrying that it doesn't know what this means? Now, can you imagine how many people are feeling anxiety since the start of last year as we navigate things we have never navigated before? And ego's busy going, I need to know what this means so I can protect her. Or I need to know what this means so I don't look stupid, so I don't get rejected, so, all of those things, so I'm not embarrassed, so I'm not ridiculed. I need to know what this means. And because it's such a control freak, it needs to know every step. So if we're swimming in the realm of I don't know, it's going to be constantly anxious. So start to break that power, move yourself out of ego by saying something like, okay, where have I forgotten my power? Where have I forgotten myself? Because that already takes you back into yourself. That helps you remember there is a separate you that gets to choose. I don't ever want you to reject it. I don't ever want you to ridicule it. I don't ever want you to be angry with it and be in conflict with it, because ego gets off on conflict. This is what's so important for all of us, for the whole of humanity to learn right now. That the reason we are so easily manipulated into being against each other, into being frightened, into forgetting who we are, into forgetting our power, is because the programming is designed by a collective ego and it triggers our ego. So as you are going through your day, anxiety will come up as a guide for you to know, oh, hang on, I've forgotten myself. I've forgotten myself. Or as a guide to let you know, okay, I'm in ego. What's going on? And I encourage you to have conversations with your ego. I encourage you to just speak to it, but a good way to start off with starting a really good dialogue and really getting to know it is to sit down with pen and paper and ask the question, what are you frightened of right now? And write down what comes. You'll be amazed what comes. Some of it will be valid, some of it won't be. Some of it will be, I'm frightened that I don't know what's going to happen next year. I'm frightened that I'll never be able to get on a plane again. I'm frightened that we're all going to turn against each other and there'll be food shortages and da-da-da-da-da. And that you can say, okay, well, hang on. None of that is occurring right now. When I look outside my window, when I look inside my house, when I am going through my day, none of that for me is happening right now. It's another way to help bring yourself back to the present, because anxiety is very much about, I won't be able to deal with what comes up. I won't be able to deal with it. Now, that may well have been a valid thought at one point in time. If you've had anxiety most of your life, here's most likely what will have happened. A very valid circumstance will have occurred and you've gotten stuck in thinking that you are unable to navigate well. You've gotten stuck in thinking that you're not competent. And literally that could have happened in primary school. It could have happened even earlier. At any point in time, something can get stuck. We can get stuck in the truth of it and then live it as though it is still happening every day. Because ego says, remember we're incompetent. Remember, we don't know what we're doing. Oh my God, oh my God, The other way that it can occur is that your ego, each one of our egos, gets programmed by our families, by our immediate families, mother, father, anybody really that has an important role. So some grandparents, aunties, uncles, And if they have programmed our ego with their own anxiety. So if you've grown up with parents or a mother or a father that was very frightened, be careful. We're going to fall off. Don't ride too fast. Don't do that. Don't do that. You're going to hurt yourself. That will also program in this feeling of incompetence and will ensure that our ego is more anxious than, say, somebody else's that has not had that programming. And that's the other thing the book does, is it takes you through how to recognize your programming. So please let me know in the comments whether you have any questions about anything I've said, how it's resonating. Great. Castle Moat, can you let me know your name? Just so that I'm happy to call you Castle Moat if you don't want to, but let me know your name if you're happy to. And so how do you control those thoughts? Well, you don't. Because control is the realm of ego. So the realm of ego is fear, control, Marcel. Fear, control, conflict. And anytime we meet it with fear, control, conflict, we're actually strengthening it. So it's not about controlling our thoughts. It's about recognizing who's having them. And that, hands down, this is why I wrote this book, because that recognition, hands down, was the most freeing thing that I learned in my whole entire life. Of all the spiritual stuff I read through, of all the things I tried to get relief from, recognizing that it wasn't even me having the thought was the most liberating and the most freeing, because now I'm not even the one that's anxious and I get to rise above that and I get to choose. So if an anxious thought comes up, if a fearful thought comes up, if the inner control freak, which is ego. Now, how many people do we see that live as control freaks? What you can know when you see them is they're actually in their ego. Most people on the planet are really heavily in ego, really, really heavily. We all are. We swim in and out, but a lot of people are just still constantly in it. And so when you see people very fearful, very, very controlling, you know they're in their ego. This is not to say they're less than, they're lower, they're weaker, they're not as evolved. It certainly doesn't mean they're not as awake. It doesn't mean they're not as evolved. It does not mean they're not as evolved, because we don't know people's journeys. We don't know. We can't judge that from the outside. We don't have the bigger picture. A lot of them are here to wake us up with how they are in their behavior. Okay, so you don't control those thoughts. You don't control them. You allow them and you recognize they're not even you. And you do what I always say, you stand up and you become the adult in the room. When it comes to your mind, you become the adult in the room. And you start to kind of parent your ego. You don't allow it to continue to run the show. And so when you're in fear, when you're in control mode, oh my God, I have to control everything, otherwise that anxiety bubbles up, you recognize this is not me. Where have I forgotten my power? Where have I forgotten myself? Sit with it. Oh, hey, Christy. Sit with it. Speak to it. Writing usually makes that easier. What are you really frightened of? And just say it with yourself. Sit down, take some breaths, make a cup of tea, and say, what are you really frightened of? And hear it. Allow it to be heard. Fear that is heard goes away very quickly. Pain that is heard goes away much more quickly. You know when you feel like you've got a big cry bubbling up, you could have one coming, and you put it off, you put it off, you put it off, you put it off. I remember I did that a long time ago when I was quite a different person to how I'm now. And I just did not cry. Even when I was the only person in the room, I just was mortified to cry. That was the really toxic nurse brain, really. And I put it off for such a long time. And then I was by myself and I thought, okay, I'm going to do it. And I sat down and I started crying. And within about 30 seconds, it was done. And I actually thought, was that it? Was that it? Have I actually put that off for years? I've put that off and that was it. I mean, it was just, because when it's allowed and it can be expressed. So I want you to honor your anxiety. I want you to know you're not the one that it's originating from. You're just the one experiencing it. You decide what it means. You decide what happens to it. And you start to create access to the right mind, to the wiser part of you that would say to you, none of these things apply to you right now. None of these, or it would give you examples in the past where you've been very competent and you've managed beautifully. Okay, so that's that. Any questions on that before I move on to the next question, which is still going to be very much along the same vein? Great, I'm glad it helps. Hey everyone. The book has been uploaded to the self-publishing site and I'm just waiting for a proof copy so that I can go, yep, good, go ahead, and then the link will be live. Okay. Write in anything that you want to know while I move on to the next question. Okay. So, wanting to learn about self-love and how to stand up for yourself. I'm trying to figure out the kind of language I should use when I explain my needs and boundaries. Love this question. Love this question. Here's what came to me initially, and then I'm going to explain it. So here's my first response to that. It's what you do to yourself that causes the most damage. That's where self-care starts, and that's where boundary starts. I'm going to say that again. It's what we do to ourselves that causes the most damage. That's where self-care starts, and that's where boundaries start. Okay, I want to talk about boundaries. I do talk about boundaries in the book, and I want to talk about it because I also feel that that's another thing that has been hijacked by an ego narrative to actually... I just have a different take on it. Let me share that with you and see what you all think and feel about that. See if it resonates with you. Okay, so we all know that we are energetic beings. We all know, okay, maybe not everybody knows that, but we all know that what we give off, we affect each other, right? No matter who someone is on the planet, no matter what languaging they use, They will understand if I say to them, have you ever walked into a room and thought, oh, this feels off? They will get that. If I say to someone, have you ever been in someone's company and thought, nah, there's something about this person? No. Have you ever walked into a group where someone's angry and felt the energy of the whole group shift? Okay, where you think it's going to go off. And have you ever been with someone where their anger has triggered yours? Every person on the planet would say yes. And how that happens is that our emotions, and not of course just our emotions, our words, our emotions, our thoughts give off a vibration, which has an effect on anyone and actually anything around us. Where this is actually a part of our evolution is that anything that we feel from another, like an overstepping of a boundary, like all those things that make us feel like, being spoken to badly or being mistreated or being disrespected or not being heard, any of those things. We've been taught that if we were able to set good boundaries, that would not happen. So someone that is able to set good boundaries, let me know. Is that how you've been taught boundaries? That someone with really good boundaries never gets mistreated because they've laid down the law, they've sent out the rules, the memo's gone out, this is what I expect, this is how I need you to treat me. And when that is how we view boundaries, we're really set up for a feeling of not being very good at them, because we encounter people all the time who overstep, who speak out of term, who talk to us about things we don't want to know about, who can talk about us behind our back, who are disrespectful, who don't understand what we mean, who whatever. We all know what it means to feel that way. So I want to shift that perspective to this. So we agree that we each give off a vibration. What I want you to know, what an actual boundary is a recognition of where you are and someone else is not. There is a in the book, I actually talk about the fact that when we have an encounter, this person gives off a vibration, this person gives off a vibration. We are 100% responsible for the energy that is inside of us. We are 100% responsible for what we give out. We are not, then there is a neutral space between us. I call it the space of opportunity. It's where we both put things in, right? Neither one of us controls it. We don't control it. If I have an encounter later this afternoon in the supermarket and I have an interaction with somebody, that interaction is the neutral space and I call it the neutral space because neither one of us controls it. But if that person starts yelling at me or starts, attacking me or whatever, or is rude, is disrespectful, they've poured that into that neutral space. That now sits there. It swirls around. What a boundary is when I recognize that I decide what I do with it. They've put it in the space, but only I can take it out of the space and put it inside my own energy. So start to recognize that, okay, this here is 100% my responsibility. The more evolved we become, we recognize what I give out is 100% my responsibility. What someone else shoots out is not my responsibility, but what I do with it is 100% my responsibility. If you think about, when we say that words can be like, somebody could like stab us in the heart or a kick in the guts. You know how we use those words, and it's true. Sometimes people say something, we feel something, and it is like a kick in the guts. It genuinely is like a kick in the guts. We use that wording because it's true, but here's what I want you to really start. Here's where your power really, really lies. Nothing that person does creates that feeling of the kick in the guts. What creates the feeling of the kick in the guts is what you do with what they have done or said, right? So what they have put into that space, it's if I go to the supermarket, a woman goes off at me in the car park, starts yelling, starts going crazy, flings all that stuff into our shared energetic space. If I leave it in there and I say things to myself like, there's a woman struggling, there's a woman in conflict, I'm not getting into that with her, this is not my stuff, I have no interest in doing this with you, I have no interest in doing this with you, it just dissipates. She might carry it, I don't think it'd be gone for her, but I don't have to take it home. That is a boundary. That is a boundary when you start to recognize that your own energy is no different than what you open the door to in your house. Would you open the door if somebody was going crazy? Would you say, please come in and live here and please yell this at me occasionally, just to remind me when I forget? Because this again, it's ego. See, ego wants the conflict. Ego's sitting in the background saying, you're going to let her talk to you like that? You're going to let her get away with that? Going to let her treat you like that? You better show her that you aren't going to take her shit, because ego wants a fight. Ego wants a fight. And ego will hold on to it. And long after that woman is gone, long after that woman possibly even knows she had a rant with me in the car park because she's on 20 rants down the line, I could still be playing it in my mind. Because ego will say, do you remember that? Do you remember that? You're going to let them do that? You're going to let them do that? And that's how boundaries actually leads into self-care as well. Because the self-care is, what do I do? What do I say? What do I allow things to mean? What do I do to myself with what comes my way? And that is the whole premise of why I called it Set the Tone. Because when we can start to live like that, when we recognize that our triggers are our own, our triggers are always showing us where we have work to do, our trigger is showing us where we agree with what someone says and we are hurting ourselves with it, we are literally setting the tone. And it just changes the whole energy of how we move through the world. And now, ironically, we don't have to have that toughness. We don't have to we can be more genuinely ourselves. There is a confidence and a competence about our energy that people just know and recognize. And when they don't, I'm not going to use that against myself. And I'm going to recognize that I can't control that space that we share. Hey, Matt. Yeah, so let me know if this is helpful in a different way to understand boundaries and if it feels more empowering than having been taught that it means that you should be able to control how someone is to you and how someone speaks to you. And also, please share with me any questions you have about anything I've said or any other questions that you want me to answer. Great. I'm glad it's helpful. It's empowering. The other way is not. The other way sets us up to believe. See, can you see how so much of what we've been taught comes from an ego perspective, right? It's matrix stuff. The matrix is an ego program to keep you in your ego as much as you can, to keep firing and triggering ego, because when you're in ego, you have forgotten who you are. You have forgotten who you are. You have forgotten your power. The more they, it, whatever your understanding of the matrix is, the more it can do that, the more it's able to manipulate you, the more it's able to manipulate us on a collective level whilst we stay in conflict with each other, whilst we have beliefs like, I should never be anxious, I should never be frightened, I shouldn't feel any of these emotions, they're bad, they're wrong. We've been taught that. Really, they're guides that show us we're off track. It's a whole guidance system that shows us where we've forgotten who we are. By teaching us that boundaries mean that, don't let anybody treat you badly, don't let anybody, really what they're saying is other people can affect you. And what I would love you to know is, no, they can't. When we are fully in our power, when we fully remember who we are, what we will do is we will stop needing the outside to be a certain way before we can feel a certain way. And that's why they have us running around like headless chooks. You've got the people who want the world to look like this before they can feel safe. You've got the people who want the world to look like this before they can feel safe. You've got the people who need those people to stop wearing this, and they need those people to stop doing that, or they need those people to start before I can feel the way I want to feel. And set the tone means, no. I feel the way I want to feel because I recognize that I cannot experience an outer world that is what I want it to be until the inner world is one of sovereignty, freedom, and power. How can we go through life as sovereign beings? How can we step into our sovereignty? But I just have a checklist of 1 through 100 of things that I need to happen. Thank you very much. Send that memo out to the collective humanity. Please sort your shit, humanity. Please stop fucking with me. Please stop annoying me. Please stop disagreeing with me, because I need you to do all of this until I can be the sovereign being that I know that I am. I mean, that it doesn't get much more matrix than that of things being upside down and inverted. Okay, so any questions? Christy, it's so lovely to see you. I hope you're well. Great, I'm glad that's helpful. Any other questions? Okay, I was called an anti-you-know-what person by a friend at a dinner party. I got very upset, felt attacked, and my ego told me he can't be a friend anymore, as a true friend wouldn't treat me that way. Yeah. So that's one of those really good times where both things I've spoken about, you would action them. You would recognize that a person who is in their power fully remembers who they are, which, let me tell you, none of us do. None of us do. At whatever level of awake and aware we are still predominantly asleep. That's not casting aspersions on any of us, because I think we're doing amazingly. We are doing amazingly. We have come from like deep in the sludge of the matrix, and we are rising. Look at what has been done to us in the last, 18 months. And not only are we still standing, we're rising, right? So please be very proud of yourself. Please be very proud of humanity collectively. Do not get your sense of humanity from social media or from any kind of media, because the perspective is skewed. You're getting it through the lens of the person who's sharing that with you, right? So what happens when somebody does do that, who is a friend, who is somebody that you expect support from, that you expect to have kind of a safe space, is that if you can remind yourself they have forgotten who they are right now. They have forgotten who they are right now. They're in their ego, and their ego is saying, well, you must be that, because that you go into that category. Ego is the realm of black and white, name calling, this category, that category, opposites, division. This is actually the thing we're moving beyond. So, Sue, what you would have to do is I would recommend in the moment, do very little. Don't do all that boundary stuff of I'm not going to use this against myself. I'm not going to use this against myself. And then when you step away, ask yourself how often this happens with this person. Because if it's a one-off, it's a time where he's forgotten himself. That's only you can make that call. Only somebody can say to you, where is your line? But I would say to just about all of us, our line is mostly too soon with some things and too far away with other things. We let some people get away with so much crap for so long, and other people we're like, oh my God, I expected more from you, right? I'm upset, I'm hurt. So see if you can soften into where he was speaking from where he was not in his right mind. And then check in with your right mind and see what response it has. Because I always say, if someone that you are in a relationship with, someone that you do know is in their ego, it's really great if you cannot move into yours. Because whoever's in their ego is crazy. At that time, they're crazy. If you can stay the non-crazy person, you're going to get more done. You're going to be able to evolve and move through whatever you're experiencing far, far better, and wait until they are back in their right mind to resolve anything that needs to be resolved. To have a conversation about, that's not, that I don't appreciate that, being called that, it's not my truth. You would wait until they're in their right mind. It's best not to have it when they're in their ego. And if your ego's been triggered and their ego, you're just both going to go to crazy town. You're both going to have like a standoff. Could you talk about self-love, please? What can I do for self-love? So self-love, look, that could be a book in itself. Self-love is, as I said the other day in my post, always choosing you. Always choose you. So you check in, what is in my highest good here right now? I hope that helps, Sue. What is in my highest good right now? In the book, I also talk about the fact that I'm not into goals that are SMART goals, that are really specific. I'm not really into manifesting as such, in the sense of because that's so controlling and so detail orientated. I like to be more focused on flow and allowing perfection to unfold for me. Within that, I get clear on what I want. So, many of you know I have been unwell for a couple of years. So that is really, there's nothing like being unwell to make you value your health. So self-care in that perspective is when I get asked something, I check in, do I really want to do that? Will it give me more health? Or will it move me away from my health? Will it benefit my health? Or will it actually be a detriment to my health? If it's a detriment to my health, I say no. Without feeling guilt, without feeling like I probably should. Oh, I haven't seen that person for a long time. Oh, but what if da-da-da-da-da. I hope that's a good example, because there's a million. Check in, find one or two things, Haruka, that are your values. And then when things come up and present themselves, you can make it less personal and make it less, oh, okay, should I choose them or should I choose me? Whose feelings are going to get hurt, right? It doesn't have to be about that. It doesn't have to be about, who has the upper hand here. I always choose myself, and I know what to choose in any situation because I know my values. And then I ask myself, will this give me more of what I want, or will this give me less of what I want? Let me know if that's helpful, because of course the whole self-love thing, the other thing with self-love is you would not attack any of your thoughts. You would not be harsh with your ego. You would not be harsh with your fear. setting the tone also means you do the inner work where you have to be the first recipient of your wisdom, of your compassion, of your understanding, because you cannot give what you don't have. You cannot give what you don't have. I want you all to know this as clearly as so that's where self-care starts with you. This is what I said at the start. It's what you do to yourself that causes the most damage. That's where self-care starts, and that's where boundaries start. If I came to you and said, could I have $2,000, and you just literally physically do not have it, you would not feel bad to say no. You would say, no, I don't have it. We need to start recognizing the same thing with when people come to us and want things from us, that we need to recognize, as much as I can't give you money I don't have, I can't give you time I don't have. I can't give you energy I don't have. I can't give you compassion I don't have. So for the sake of all of us, I want you all to leave this live, or if you're watching the replay, and to really start to understand that your greatest power lies in your treatment of yourself, because that makes you a healthy, strong foundation as part of the whole. We can't be healthier than our parts. As a whole, as a humanity evolving collectively, we can only do that as individuals in a sense. We can't have the whole of humanity evolve while there's people in there that haven't individually evolved. When enough of us evolve individually, the whole evolves. We can collectively move up. I want you to know the same thing in your life. I can't give what I don't have. I can't give what I don't have. Let me know if that's helpful, Haruka, for why. And if you say, well, then what is self-love? So many women that I work with, clients that I work with one-on-one, will say, well, I don't know how to love myself. And I call bullshit on that, because we all know how to love other people. We know how to love the animals in our life. We know how to love the children in our life. We know how to love other people. And if you know how to do it, you know how to do it. And what people are really saying, and it's generally the women, but I think that the men would probably feel the same. They maybe just have different words for it. But what you're really saying, if you feel that there's truth in I don't know how to love myself, what you're really saying is I don't feel worthy of my love, and it feels more comfortable to send it out than to shoot it in. It feels more comfortable to send it out than to be the recipient. And so what I want you to walk away with today is knowing that I cannot give what I do not have. Cannot give what I do not have. I did write something else while I was thinking about today. Yeah, so just start to think that, so in that sense, self-care is actually an act of service. You're doing it for me, you're doing it for the people you love, you're doing it for all of us collectively as much as you're doing it for yourself. Because we all benefit. Because when you're healthy, think of us collectively like individual cells in a body. When only one cell need go rogue, only one cell need mutate for cancer to set in. Only one cell need be unhealthy for the whole entire thing to have a knock-on effect. And it's the same with each one of us. We're so busy, many of us, not all of us, many people are so busy sitting at home, watching the telly going, well, they're all fucked, scrolling through social media, well, they're all fucked, waiting for everybody to not be so fucked. And you set the tone. You set the tone. It's up to you not to carry the weight of the world, not to even save the world. It's up to you to save yourself. And the more of us that do that, can you imagine what powerful examples we are to the people around us? Because that is the most powerful way that you can teach. So many people who feel that they have to do for others and feel uncomfortable doing for themselves think that it's because I'm a really caring and compassionate person. I'm not saying that you're not, but at night when there's just you, at 2 a.m, head on the pillow, how caring and compassionate are you then? Because that's what's real. When you're frightened, when you're scared, are you there for yourself? Can you hold space for yourself? Can you be kind to yourself? Can you be compassionate to yourself? So I'm not saying you are not those things if you cannot be those to yourself. What I'm saying is it's coming from a place that cannot be sustained. Eventually there will be an emptiness to that and a resentment to that. But if you are those things, your thoughts are those things, your actions are those things, your behavior is those things to you, you are building a beautiful foundation where you can be giving it out even just as the example that you are as you walk through your day. We all learn far more powerfully from example than what somebody says to us, but acts differently. Especially if you're a mother trying to teach children, their value and their worth while you can't see your own. It's not going to go as well as you would like it to. It's going to be much more powerful when you show them that you prioritize yourself. I know that's been warped in this world too, but that's because that's been an ego narrative too. Self-care has been sold to us like it's skincare products and reading a magazine at lunchtime and putting your feet up and having a coffee. I mean, none of those things. That's all talking to our not enoughness, right? That's talking to our not. Flick through a magazine while you can see, how fat you are in comparison to other people and what you don't have and what celebrity. I mean, it's so toxic. Real self-care is always putting yourself first. Always putting yourself first, because this is your life. You have been, I can't think of the word. There is a word and it's like right on the tip of my tongue. You have been entrusted. This life that you're living, this soul experience in a body has been entrusted to you. It is your main priority and responsibility to do with it as much as you can. Ego will say, so you mean like bigger houses, better cars, more money, thinner, bigger bank account, more friends, bigger social media platform? No. How you are with yourself will be the thing at the end of the day that will see you through. That is something you're putting in your toolkit that no one can take out. Fawning, people pleasing is now being added into fight, flight, freeze. Okay. Look, I mean, I think that we're swimming in the realm of, it's like when you go empath, narcissist, we're swimming in the realm of having to put people into one or the other, and it's just the labeling, I think, needs to stop. There is a certain degree of helpfulness in understanding. I'm saying, okay, ego, right mind. I mean, I'm putting labels and things, but that's to separate you out from that. I think then in the whole thing of like studying it from a psychological perspective and doing research on this, and research finds that it's like, you know what? Just let the person navigate their own thing. Give them the tools, give them the spiritual basis and the grounding, and we will all navigate for ourselves beautifully without probably somebody from outside needing to tell us what is toxic and what is not, because we'll feel it immediately. If we were left to our own devices, if as children it wasn't taught out of us, we would feel it beautifully, immediately. I'm going to share an inbox message just anonymously that I've been told I can share. When I did the video on children and the stones, on sort of reminding them about their power, I had originally answered that as a DM to a lady who was worried about her daughter. And then I did a video because I thought, well, if she's thinking about it, other people will be too. And she wrote back the most beautiful thing where she approached her daughter to do the things that I suggested so that as she navigates around people who've had the, you know what, she can stay in her health and well-being and in her power. And her daughter said, oh, I've been doing it all along. Here's my stones. This one helps me with this. This one helps me with this. And she was blown away. She was blown away with what, you know, her daughter's wisdom. And I said, this is children. This is children if we didn't teach it out of them, frighten it out of them, or poison it out of them. Poisoning, of course, poisoning them with food and medicines and the air and water and fluoride and God knows what. We each can navigate our own better than anybody else can navigate it for us once we clear the way. It's about clearing the way. And then what do I value? Well, I value myself, or I value my health, or I value my time. I value my time. And when I don't have enough of it, then I start saying no to all of this. It's not personal. It's not personal. It's just, I'm here to navigate me and you need to do what's best for you. Okay, is that helpful? Yeah, I might write that down, Haruka, because stuff comes out of my mouth and who knows where it comes from, and later on I forget it, and that would be a nice post. We are entrusted, I can't remember what I said. We are entrusted with this soul in this physical experience, something like that. Anyway, set the tone, people. Set the tone. I would love, oh my God, I would love for everyone just to know what that means. And for everyone just to go, oh, I set the tone. I set the tone. So if I do now, which I am now, I'm going up to the local market. If I do now go to the supermarket and I get out and someone goes off at me, if I stand there and I know, well, I set the tone here. I set the tone, not my ego, because my ego will go, you know, get in there, tell her, you know, make sure, get a good few, you know, energetic uppercuts in. My right mind will say, who are you? Who are you? Do you remember who you are? Do you remember your power? What effect can this person have on you if you don't allow what's in that space to come in past your boundaries? And what tone are you setting? It's not about, believe me, it's not about being passive. It's not, because I am not a passive person. I am not a passive person. I can get fucked off like anybody else, and I'm feisty. I am feisty. I am, of course, also not anywhere near evolved. I am learning as I go. But please know, because your ego might say, oh, this whole set the tone thing, does that mean I have to shut up and turn the other cheek? And no. Go to your right mind. Who are you? Who are you? You know, who are you? Fierce. We are fierce. We are fierce. We don't take no shit. I don't take it home. The shit you give me in the supermarket, I'm not taking it home. I'm not interested. I did that for years. For years, I let other people have all of this. I'm not doing that anymore. Set the tone. Yeah, great. New mantra, set the tone. Love that. All right, people, we're nearly at an hour and it's doesn't sometimes upload. So if it's more than an hour, so let's, any final comments, set the tone. Is this book hardcover or soft? Both, because if you know me, you know I love books. I love books so much. I will go and buy old books. I will go into a secondhand bookshop. I will buy it for the cover. I will open it up, stick my whole entire face on the page and buy it for the smell. Okay, this is me. I understand this is not necessarily same. So the book was always going to be hardcover, but when I spoke to the publishing company that's helping me do the whole layout, the lady said to me, Blaze, beautiful lady, she said, not everyone will buy a hardcover. Of course, they're more expensive than a paperback. So she said, not everyone will buy a hardcover. Make sure you do both. So it will be both. It will be available on things like Amazon, and various places. but I will also have a link that I will, of course, email out to everybody on my list, but I will also have on my website. And I will also have on here in my link tree, I'll put the link to being able to buy it. So you can buy soft cover or hardcover. I've designed them slightly differently because they felt like they needed a different face. Great. I'm glad you all got a lot from this. I'm glad you were all able to join live. Please note, I can't see the comments in the replay. So if anything was missed, if I missed something, please put it up on the replay and I can get to it either in a comment or another live. All right. Happy Saturday. Thank you for being here. Please share, tag anybody that you think it will be helpful for, and we'll do it all again soon. I might do an evening one again soon if that's more helpful for people. Do that too. Please, if you watch the replay, couldn't get here, let me know, is it because of time zone, and put down what is easier and better for you. Okay, great. All right, everybody. Much love. Have a good day. Thank you for being here, and thank you for honouring the sharing with your beautiful, kind words. Okay, take care.